The victim's body was spotted by a tug operator about 7:30 that morning. And I arrived on the scene an hour later, 8:20.
And what did you find?
Well, it appeared the body had been in the water for a couple of days anyway, and there were what appeared to be numerous cuts and abrasions all over her body.
Okay. Were you able to make an identification of the victim, Stacy Miller, at the scene?
Yes, sir, we were. There was her wallet. We found a wallet on her body, and there's a photo or address, so it was easy to make an ID.
And what did you do with that information?
I gave it to one of the constables. He immediately put her into the system to see if we could find anything else about her.
Then what did you do?
Well, since it wasn't very clear what had happened, I decided I'd get homicide on down there, so they came down.
Is that normal procedure?
Oh, that's normal, sure. You know, whenever there's a possibility of foul play, I like to make sure that everybody's way out in front of it.
Okay. And then what did you do?
We had her body taken down to the morgue. After homicide had processed the scene there, and a full autopsy was performed on her, and we attempted to determine the cause of death.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Da Vinci. That's all I have.
Counsel may question the witness.
When you first saw the body of Stacy Miller, how old approximately did you think she was?
I thought pretty young. I thought maybe even a teenager.
But she was nearly 30 years old, is that correct?
That's what ID said, yeah.
So she's a petite woman?
Yeah, petite, yeah.
Okay. These numerous cuts and abrasions on Stacy Miller's body that you testified about, what did these suggest to you?
Oh, I didn't know what they suggested at the time.
Did you think maybe she'd fallen in the river, that the river had caused them?
No, I didn't think that, because they appeared to be what was puncture wounds. And I wasn't sure what had caused them. I'm not a pathologist.
You're not a pathologist?
No.
Do you have medical training?
No.
How is it that you become coroner with no medical training? Is that not an anomaly in this day and age?
Not in this province, it's not, no.
But most other provinces and states have coroners and medical examiners with medical degrees, isn't that right?
Right, well, yeah, I'm an anomaly, anachronism, all those things, but I'm not alone there. It's about a 50-50 split in terms of provinces in this country, yeah.
If you have no medical training whatsoever, what were you previously that qualifies you to make such difficult determinations as to manner and cause of death?
I rely on experience, and when I'm not sure, I rely on the advice of professionals such as pathologists.
Okay. That's all I have for this witness. I would like to recall him later today.
Now, could you ask your questions now, please? Just, if you have things to ask me now, because spare me the trip back down here.
Does the Crown have any objections to the counsel recalling this witness at a later time?
I have no objections, Your Honor. Mr. Da Vinci is simply pointing out that he has a busy schedule.
Oh.
Oh, not my day. What's happening here?
I think this is a straight-ahead robbery here.
You do?
I'm not exactly sure, so I thought I'd wait for you before I made the call.
Good call. Okay, now, who lives here? What's the victim's name?
Abigail Jefferson.
Did Abigail live alone?
No, with her husband.
Is that who found her?
Yeah, him and his son and daughter. They found her together.
Where are they now?
Well, that's his son up there. The father and daughter over at her place. He was pretty upset, so I guess she took him over there. Look after him.
Okay. Who was here when you got here?
Just his son. He called 911.
And that was when?
About a half hour ago.
Okay.
You see, there's a gun on the floor by the bed here.
This is Abigail. Is it? No signs of a struggle in here. Thinking this looks like a close contact wound. Yeah, you can see the stick.
That's what it looks like.
Doesn't seem like the kind of person to have a gun. Did the son say that the parents had a gun?
He said, yeah, he knew his dad had an old Army Service 45. He's pretty sure this is it.
What's that over there?
Painkillers, prescription.
Excuse me?
Son said the mom was recovering from a bout with skin cancer.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think to be cautious, then we'll do a gun residue test on her hands, and then if her prints are on that weapon, then suicide, right?
Yeah, but take a look at this over here in the other room.
What?
The dresser's been turned upside down.
So you're saying this could be a robbery to you? That's the victim's gun in there, isn't it? So what, she's defending herself? The attacker takes the gun from her, something like that?
Yeah, I suppose.
What about the son? Did he say anything was missing from up here?
No, he said he didn't know if his mom kept anything valuable in the dresser or not.
Hmm.
But there is a kitchen door you should look at.
Okay. You know about cameras?
Stacy Miller had a lot of wounds on her neck that I thought were from a knife.
And were these wounds later confirmed by the pathologist at autopsy to be stab wounds?
Yes.
Okay. During the course of your investigation, was there a time when you searched Stacy Miller's apartment?
Yeah. We took a look around there.
Can you tell us what you found?
Yes, we found numerous letters from the accused, Joel Hardy.
And Detective, can you state the nature of these letters?
Yes. At first, the accused was begging her to get back together with him, but then the letters got pretty threatening.
How were they threatening?
Well, quite a few times in there, the accused said he'd kill her before he let her go.
After reading these letters, did you question the accused?
Yeah, and he confirmed to us that he was upset about Stacy leaving him, which is why he wrote the letters.
And did the accused happen to say where he was the day that Stacy Miller went missing?
He said he was at home, but we couldn't corroborate that.
Oh, yeah, someone's been at the door there. You can see the Jimmy marks right on there.
Yeah, and the chain was popped.
It's yarded right out, isn't it? What's the son say?
He said it wasn't like that when they left the house, and they always go out the kitchen door here. It's the closest to the driveway.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to him right now, and you get to call homicide.
We were told by the pathologist that Stacy Miller's wounds were consistent with a small single-edged knife.
And did you then search Mr. Hardy's house for a possible weapon?
Yes.
Did you find a weapon that matched the wounds?
Nothing that matched the wounds.
Okay. During your first interview with Mr. Hardy here, do you recall him telling you that he had a new girlfriend and that he was getting on with his life?
He said that, yes.
Okay. Did his new girlfriend later confirm that?
She said that, yeah.
Did Stacy Miller currently have a new boyfriend by the name of Jack Perot?
Yes.
And did Mr. Perot tell you that the last time he saw Stacy Miller was the night before she disappeared, that in fact she'd spent the night with him?
Yes, he said that.
Okay. Does Mr. Perot have a criminal record?
Yes, he'd done 6 years for importing cocaine.
6 years for importing cocaine. Detective, were there ever any suspects other than Mr. Hardy considered in this case?
The evidence led us directly to Mr. Hardy.
You mean the letters he wrote to Stacy Miller?
That was our first indication it was him. Then we found out that Stacy Miller had a restraining order against the accused.
Yes, and that restraining order was withdrawn by her at her own request, isn't that true?
Yes.
But still, you pursued Mr. Hardy, no one else.
We believed he was the perpetrator and still do.
Thank you.
You told the constable that you and your sister came by here to pick up your dad.
Yeah, to take him to the grocery store.
And about what time was that?
8:30 or so.
8:30. Okay, when you came by here, did you go upstairs and see your mom, or?
Yeah, she was upstairs in bed, and I looked in on her, but she was sleeping.
Okay, and how long were you gone?
It's an hour and a half. We usually buy for the week, and Dad had some other errands to run.
Okay. So you're coming back here around 10 o'clock, and then what happened?
We came in, and we're unloading groceries. And then Dad goes upstairs to tell Mom that we're home. And I can hear him moaning real loud, so I go up there, and that's when we found Mom just shot like that.
And then you called 911?
Not right away, no.
Any particular reason why you didn't call right away?
I don't know. I didn't know what to do, and Dad looked like he was having a heart attack. He couldn't breathe. And so we just settled him down a little and tried to calm ourselves down, and then we made the call.
Right from the house here?
No, from my sister's.
Oh, so you and your sister took your dad to your sister's house, and then you made the call?
Yeah, we just felt like we had to get him away from what happened. And he had a hold of Mom's hand, and he wouldn't let go of it.
And what about your mom? It's just kind of a hard question, but was there any discussions like, I'm trying to ask you, did you feel that she was despondent? Did she discuss committing suicide with you?
No. I mean, not to my knowledge.
All right, well, I'm finished as far as my questions are concerned. Just wanted to tell you how very sorry I am for your loss.
Thank you.
I'll get out of your way here now. Most of the other fellas here will be gone.
Okay.
Before you know it, thanks.
Thank you.
I autopsied the body of Stacy Miller on September 17th, 2000 at the Vancouver City Morgue.
And what did you find?
I found her to have sustained multiple stab wounds to her neck and shoulders.
Okay, can you tell us how many wounds were there altogether?
There were 12 stab wounds on the back of her neck and shoulders and the front of her neck.
And were those wounds the cause of death?
No, the immediate cause of death was drowning.
So sometime after she'd been stabbed, she either fell or was placed into the river.
Objection. The Crown is assuming facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
Was there any evidence that Stacy Miller had recently had sex?
Yes, there was inflammation and tearing to the vaginal tissue.
And what would that suggest?
Suggests that the sex was aggressive.
Violent?
Yes, it could have been violent.
In your expert opinion, was Stacy Miller sexually assaulted?
In my opinion, the vaginal tearing was consistent with sexual assault, yes.
Want to give me a hand here, Dominic?
Okay.
All right.
There's the bullet right in the mattress there.
Yeah.
Want to show to that?
Well, what's the weapon there?
Well, it's an old-timer, 45.
Okay, I got my photos of her. We'll back her hand, see if she fired her herself.
Talked to his son downstairs. He says he can't find anything missing. I told him to call his dad, see if he might know of anything missing up here. He says there should be some jewelry in a dresser drawer.
Jewelry?
Well, he can come up here again and have another look once I'm finished here.
What about the daughter? Is she bringing the father over here?
Yeah, they're on their way over.
Did you see that back door, Leo?
Oh, yeah.
So, you think maybe this is a robbery then?
I don't know, I suppose so. Guy's making a noise downstairs. The woman here hears him, and she goes and gets the family gun from wherever.
Yeah. Well, maybe that thief already knows there's something valuable up here. Maybe he knows the family, knows the house, right? So he comes upstairs. Like you say, she's already got the weapon. He comes in, he's surprised to see her with the gun. He jumps on her, grabs it, turns it on her, maybe? I don't know.
Possible with a close contact wound like that.
Or maybe it's all a coincidence.
Coincidence? How do you figure coincidence?
Well, two separate acts. The woman's thinking suicide, so she waits until the family's all gone shopping and she shoots herself. Meanwhile, you got a guy who decides today's the day he's gonna rob the place. And he sees the family go off on the routine shopping, comes in, sees she's already dead, helps himself, steals what he wants, and he's gone. Did the neighbors hear anything?
The Harness are out canvassing. They haven't found anything yet. Yep.
Family's all downstairs now.
Okay, we're gonna want to interview them separately.
We're gonna head downstairs with these guys.
You testified that there were numerous cuts and abrasions on Stacy Miller's body.
That's correct.
Any idea where the cuts and abrasions came from?
I wouldn't want to speculate on that.
Okay. Can you describe the deeper wounds for us?
Yes. They were ranging in width from 1 centimeter to a few that were 2.5 centimeters. And they were between 2.1 centimeters deep and 3.1 centimeters deep on the back of her neck.
What kind of weapon would have made such wounds on the victim?
It would have to have been a thin, narrow blade.
Are there any other objects or implements besides a knife that might have made these wounds?
Yes, I'm sure that's possible.
So these might not be knife wounds.
Well, they are consistent with a knife blade, but yes, the stab wounds might not have been inflicted by a knife.
You've testified that Stacy Miller had had sex sometime before she died.
Yes?
Was there any semen recovered?
No.
What would account for that?
Well, she had been in the river, so it's possible evidence of semen could have been washed away, or the assailant wore a condom. Either.
So when this sex may have occurred is difficult to determine.
Well, because of the time in the water and so on, yes, but the vaginal tearing hadn't healed at all, so it probably occurred within 24 hours of her death.
Probably, but there's no precise way to determine that.
No precise method, correct.
Okay, now, isn't it true that the kind of vaginal tearing that you described could have been caused by rough, aggressive, consensual sex?
I'm not an expert in rough, consensual sex. I'm an expert in sexual assault, and the vaginal tearing was, in my expert opinion, consistent with assault.
Right, you're not an expert in rough, consensual sex. Thank you.
From the time you got home until the time you called 911. That was about 45 minutes, is that right?
I didn't realize it was that long.
Oh, yeah. It was that long.
While we were dealing with my father, we were all in shock.
So you drove your dad over to your sister's house, and then you came back here?
We had to wait for the police.
What do you think happened here?
Well, when I came and saw the back door broken open like it is, I thought it was a robbery.
Do you own a gun, Mr. Jefferson?
Yes?
The gun we found upstairs on the floor there, would that be your gun?
Yes. Yeah, I kept that after I got out of the Army.
Okay. Where do you keep that gun?
In the dresser?
In the dresser? Which dresser? The one in the room there or the one in that smaller room?
In the smaller room, yes.
Okay. Was there anything else in there?
Well, my wife's jewelry.
That's missing.
Yes, yes. My son says, well, it's not there now.
Was it insured?
Yes.
What do you figure it's worth?
I think about $20,000.
20? Okay.
Do you know if your mom and dad had anybody working for them recently, like a handyman making some repairs, somebody cleaning in the house or out in the yard, anything like that?
Well, my sister cleans for Mom and Dad on Saturdays, but as far as a handyman, Dad would know. There's a neighborhood kid who cuts the lawns.
Yes, he cuts the lawns and he washes the windows, that kind of thing. Well, he's been inside the house several times.
Really? Okay, we'll need his name.
Okay, I've got that. He lives right across the street there, that house. He's in high school.
Okay, when you came home, did you go in the front door or did you go in this door here?
Front door.
You were unloading groceries?
Yes.
Well, the car and the groceries are a lot closer to that door, and the officer tells me that's the door you usually use, so why'd you go in that door?
I don't know.
Now, I understand you usually come in through the back entrance. And this time you came in the front door? Why was that?
I don't know. I can't remember why we came in that door.
Dad wanted to check the mailbox by the front door, so that's the way we went in.
Did he get any mail?
Just bills, I think.
And what about your wife this morning? Was she in good spirits?
She said she had a good night, yeah. And she said she was feeling better.
Was she experiencing pain, bad pain from time to time? I noticed there's some pretty serious pain medication up there.
Yeah, well, it's up and down, you know.
For sure.
And the cancer was in remission?
Yeah, she'd had immunotherapy treatments.
And that was working, was it?
You do understand, sir, that at this particular time we do have to consider other possibilities.
Yes.
Now, your wife, she was pretty sick, right?
Yes.
I'm wondering, well, I'd be curious to know if you think that maybe, is it possible that your wife killed herself?
No. Abigail, she'd never take her own life. She was Catholic. Commit suicide, she'd go to hell.
You got that 40-minute time delay before they called 911. Yeah, that's a little odd.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time to be waiting to make that call.
Yeah, we should check that kid across the street. He knew their habits.
He's got a really good view from there, too. All the comings and goings of the house right from across the street.
Gotta get out of here. Yeah, God damn it. Let me know if you hear anything.
See you, Dominic.
I'd like to take you back to the morning that Stacy Miller's body was found in the Fraser River. You may want your notes for this.
I don't need my notes.
Okay. You testified that you noticed numerous wounds on the victim's body.
That's correct.
But you didn't know where they were from at that time.
I didn't know, and I think I answered that question this morning already.
Okay. You testified that Stacy was last seen hiking about 20 miles up the river.
And that was in her missing persons report, too, yeah.
20 miles up the river. That's pretty rough country up there, isn't it? It's wilderness?
Pretty rough country up there, yeah, in spots.
Okay. So You're there at the scene with homicide, and you're all standing around looking at the victim's body, and you've just found out she was last seen hiking in some pretty rough terrain up the river. So that must have started a little speculation about what might have happened to Stacy. Would it be fair to say that?
We discussed some possibilities.
Maybe you should look at your notes. I've got a copy here for you.
No, thank you.
Was it you or one of the detectives who first mentioned that maybe Stacy had been the victim of an animal attack?
I'm not sure.
That was mentioned. It's in your notes here. A possible cougar attack.
Oh, it's in there then? Okay, so what's your point?
Why a cougar?
Because one of the constables on the scene said that a cougar had been spotted in that area up the river there, and that apparently a young boy had been attacked, and there was some cougar scat seen in the immediate area. So that led to some talk, and then we all decided, you know what, that's not what we're looking at here.
You must have thought something about it. You wrote it down.
I write everything down. I find that's the best policy, you know? It's like you gather all your evidence, and you look at it, and it doesn't mean you can't accept another viewpoint once all the evidence is in. That's how an investigation progresses, my friend.
But you didn't think it was a cougar attack you were seeing?
That's what I just said. You should check your notes.
And you were sure after the autopsy?
The autopsy showed that the victim had been stabbed.
And there was no disagreement with the pathologist on her findings?
Is that a question or is that a statement?
You and the homicide detectives are at the autopsy with the pathologist, and no one mentions the possibility of a cougar attack. Is that your testimony?
Someone might have suggested it. Somebody suggested that there was a possibility there was an animal attack. And it said to the pathologist, are you sure that it wasn't an animal? She said, yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't an animal. So we went with that. That's just one of the qualified professionals that I rely upon every day.
So you might have suggested to her that somebody thought it was a mountain lion, or you did suggest it?
I did.
And after that suggestion had been made, there was no ongoing disagreement then? Everybody was on the same page?
It was a stabbing. Everybody's on the same page on that one. It's a stabbing.
Thank you.
Tricia, I think you got a problem on the Stacy Miller case. Well, of course, we can't officially discuss this.
Well, what sort of problem, unofficially?
The defense lawyers asked me questions about whether there's any possible disagreement between you, me, homicide, as to the nature of Stacy Miller's wounds, right?
And what's that about?
Well, he's got my notes. He's got homicide's notes. I know I definitely put it in there, possible cougar attack, but I don't know what other people's notes say. So I thought I'd better give you the heads up right now.
Yeah, okay, I better talk to the Crown, see if he knows what Hardy's lawyer's
Okay,
up
well,
to.
just see if there's anything in your notes.
Yeah.
That's vital. You got something for me?
Yeah, your gunshot victim from yesterday?
Yeah.
I went in there, took a look around.
Sister?
The cancer had metastasized to her lymph, kidney, liver, you name it. It was eating away at her.
Are you saying she was not in remission then?
No, she was dying.
Okay, what about the gunshot one?
Clean, direct shot through the left ventricle. Death was instantaneous, consistent with suicide. Wouldn't shoot to the heart. That's what the stats say.
Yeah.
We did talk about it being a possible cougar attack. I got it in my notes right here.
It's in the notes?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry to bother you.
It's all right. I was just tidying up.
Is your brother home?
No.
I just wonder if I might have the chance to sit down and talk with you for a minute.
Sure. Come on in.
Thanks. How's your father holding up?
Well, my mom and dad were married 50 years, so you can imagine.
Yeah, I can. It's a long time.
Yeah.
All right, your mother's cancer. We've had her autopsy results back in, and it turns out that your mother's cancer was not in remission.
Yes, it was. Yeah, she said it was.
Well, if she told you that, then she wasn't telling you the truth.
Really?
Yeah. So my question for you is, like, are you sure that she never discussed suicide with you?
No. No, not with me.
Okay, how about anybody else?
No.
Did you know your parents kept a gun in the house?
Yeah, it was in the dresser.
This gun had been there for a long time, or?
Since we were kids, yeah.
So your mom knew where that gun was then?
Yeah, she warned us all the time.
Did she? Was it always kept loaded?
Yeah.
Reason for that was, what, was she nervous about all the break-ins lately, or?
My dad was. There'd been a few more than usual the last year or two.
Right.
All the home invasions you read about. I guess I should have paid more attention to that.
You know, the three of you went shopping together, and You left her here by herself in the house, so if you're worried about that.
I know. I know.
Had there been some discussion that someone should stay behind with her?
I think we did. But you know, we also talked about Dad not being chained to the house.
Why? Because he rarely left her alone?
Right.
We're bringing in a pathologist by the name of John Rose to counter your testimony.
I was afraid that might happen. He's a very good witness.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what do you know about him?
Well, he's an expert in animal attacks, so they're definitely going after the cougar theory. That's his pet thing.
Is it possible it was a cougar attack?
Not unless the cougar was packing a knife.
Dr. Raymond?
Raman, yes?
This is for you.
What is it?
Subpoena. Nice job you got here.
Yeah, thanks, I like it.
Hey, how you doing?
Did you get the GSR results back on Abigail Jefferson?
Yeah, Chick says that she did not fire the gun that killed her.
Oh, no? What about the prints?
Oh, white clean. So I guess the thief must have been wearing gloves. Anyway, Chick's working on the ballistics now.
Kidding.
Hey, Dom. Yeah. Asked your vice about something.
Yeah, sure.
These here long-term care facilities, are any of them any good?
Guess a couple of them are okay, sure.
Yeah, well, I thought so too, but I looked at about 6 of them now, and none of them seem very nice to me. They just let the people wander around in there, and they're trying to tell me that, oh, that's a good thing to do. Christ, they all look stoned. I saw cockroaches.
You know what? Give you the name and the address of the one I put Pops in before he died. It was actually okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Dominic.
You know.
So far only the jewelry's missing, right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We got a list of all the items from the insurance company.
So what about this teenager who does odd jobs for the house? What's his story?
He definitely looks like a possibility. See, he showed up 2 hours late for school. Had to stop off at the mall.
So he's got no alibi, right?
Yeah, but the only thing wrong with that is he knew Mrs. Jefferson had cancer. He's going to rob the place. He's got to know she's going to be at home. That's a pretty big risk for him to be taking.
Yep.
Well, I mean, jewelry's worth a lot of money. Maybe he figured it was worth the risk.
We got a bulletin out to all the pawn shops and jewelry meltdown joints, see if anybody tries to fence his stuff.
Okay, what are you thinking about this?
Well, the woman's terminally ill and she's lying about it. That should lead to suicide, but it doesn't, so I don't know what the hell to think, to tell you the truth.
Well, work the kid and keep talking to the family then.
Excuse me.
Hey, Chick.
Hey, I got something here for you on the 45.
What's that?
It jammed up.
What do you mean it jammed up?
Well, the first shot killed Mrs. Jefferson, but there were 2 shots attempted, and the second round failed to fire. See? You got a strike on the base of the round here. Matches the firing pin. It didn't fire.
So what do you figure?
Old ammo.
Mr. Da Vinci, you spoke with a wildlife officer that day you found Stacy Miller. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And what did he tell you about a mountain lion in the area where Stacy went missing? Do you recall?
There was a boy on a mountain bike attacked by a cougar that morning.
Was the boy hurt in the attack?
No, he scared the cougar off, apparently.
Did they find that cougar? Do you know?
No, they gave up. Apparently they found the tracks and they found some scat, but in the end they gave up.
And did you find evidence that the cougar had been in that area where Stacy went missing?
Well, we found her backpack. Had her name inside it.
And did the wildlife officer point out evidence that the cougar they'd been looking for had been in the area?
He pointed out some scat and he pointed out some tracks, you know, but it's along the river bank there where we found the backpack.
Down along the river from where the bag was found?
I just said that.
What did you tell the wildlife officer about his opinion that Stacy had been attacked by this same young cougar?
I really can't recall.
Okay, well, the wildlife officer testified this morning that you said he was full of shit and to go practice his knots for a merit badge.
I might have said something like that, I guess.
Okay. Well, Mr. Da Vinci, It is Mr., not Doctor, correct?
Got a short memory. No, there's no jury here. Why don't you just ask your question?
Yeah, Mr. Da Vinci, it seems that whenever the observation was made that this might have been a cougar attack, you did your best to dissuade anyone from considering that possibility.
No, that is not true.
Did that intimidation extend to the autopsy? You were present at the autopsy.
I don't intimidate anybody at any autopsy. Why would I?
Did your own pathologist at any time say to you, these could be cougar wounds?
No, I don't believe so.
I think you're lying to us, Mr. Da Vinci.
And I think I know what you're doing. You're trying to just confuse the issue in this case. Just confuse us all with this idea, this preposterous idea, that it was a cougar that stalked Stacy Miller. A cougar raped her. A cougar killed her. I don't think...
Mr. Da Vinci.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Da Vinci.
Next thing he'd be telling this court that his client's a werewolf. It was a full moon that night to get a werewolf expert up here to give us all lectures on lycanthropy.
Mr. Da Vinci.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're excused.
Sorry, Your Honor.
What's a son? It's Cuban. Okay, is that, was that like a samba? Okay. So is it like 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3? Okay, I'll just pick that up at the record store. Yeah, thanks. What?
I just got something bugging me. You know, I get Mrs. Jefferson laying there in bed dying of cancer, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody decides to get up and go shopping to the grocery store? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I can understand that.
You can? I can't. Why don't you explain it to me?
Well, you need a break. You're taking care of somebody that's sick day and night, and you're responsible for them. You got to get out, you know what I mean? You go crazy, you'll kill them.
You kill him?
Well, you don't kill them. You'll lose your temper, then you say something to them that hurts their feelings, you know.
I just can't help thinking that if somebody had stayed home with her that day, she wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, or maybe there'd be 2 people dead now.
You think this was staged?
Well, usually you can tell it's overstaged. There's too much detail.
Well, I do. I think it was staged.
Dr. Roman, do you recall that day Stacy Miller's body was brought into the autopsy?
Yes.
Who else was present that day?
Dr. Da Vinci, 2 homicide detectives, a forensic expert, and the coroner, Mr. Da Vinci.
And do you recall when the body was first examined, a disagreement that took place between those present on whether or not the wounds on Stacy Miller were possibly from a cougar attack?
There was a discussion about that.
A discussion or a disagreement?
Disagreement.
What was the nature of that disagreement?
It had been suggested there had been a cougar seen in the area where Stacy Miller had last been seen. So the question was raised as to whether the wounds on her body were consistent with a cougar.
Do you recall who brought that up?
Mr. Da Vinci had heard about it, so he brought it up.
And was he thinking that this was the case, that it was a cougar attack?
No, he thought it was a lot of nonsense.
And how did Dr. Da Vinci feel about the suggestion?
She wasn't as quick to dismiss it as he was.
She wasn't quick to dismiss it. Why was that?
Dr. Da Vinci likes to keep an open mind before an autopsy, but that's not to say she believed she was seeing cougar wounds.
Can you recall what she said exactly to Mr. Da Vinci?
Something like, don't bring your prejudices into my autopsy.
And did that stop Mr. Da Vinci from continuing to prejudice the matter?
I don't believe he did prejudice the matter.
Were you ever asked by Dr. Da Vinci to examine the wounds on Stacy Miller?
Yes.
Why was that?
She wanted a second opinion on the type of knife used in the attack.
So what did you think caused the wounds?
I wasn't sure they were caused by a knife. I thought a different instrument might have been used in the attack.
Thank you, Doctor. That's all. Dr. Rose, in your 17 years as a pathologist, how many cases of cougar attacks have you investigated?
14.
14, that's impressive. And where would those have been?
Well, a number of them were over on Vancouver Island. A couple were up in the Rockies here, and the rest were in California and Oregon.
How many of those attacks were fatal?
5.
5. And of those 5, have cougar wounds and knife wounds sometimes been confused?
In 2 of those cases, yes.
Why is that? Why the confusion between cougar wounds and knife wounds?
Well, if you look at the pictures on the board, you can see how they look similar. The problem is that most pathologists don't ever have the opportunity to see any cougar wounds, so They don't know what they're looking at.
I see they do look similar. How do you tell the difference?
A cougar often attacks from behind with both sets of claws. That would account for the superficial wounds to the sides of the shoulders. Now, the puncture wounds in the back of the neck come from the teeth.
What else?
Well, the claw wounds have a particular depth.
Okay, you've had a chance to go over the autopsy photographs of Stacy Miller, is that correct?
Yes, I had the opportunity to go over them at length.
And in your experience, having seen numerous wounds from numerous cougar attacks, do they fit the particular criteria you've established for cougar attack?
Yes, absolutely they do. You can see that there's a pattern to the placement of the wounds on her neck and shoulders. And these wounds correspond directly to the lengths and depths of cougar claws and bites that I've studied.
They correspond, okay. And what about evidence of cougar DNA in the wound?
Well, naturally, we'd expect to see that, but in this case, with the body being in the water, evidence might have been washed away.
Just as evidence of the alleged sexual assault, the semen, might have been washed away.
That's correct.
Doctor, who is the victim of a typical cougar attack?
It's usually someone 16 years of age or under. Well, smaller the prey, the easier the kill.
Stacy Miller was a petite woman. Would she fall into that category?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Doctor.
Now, your sister tells us that you knew where the gun was and have known since you were children. Now, that's not what you told us earlier. You said you had no idea.
I guess I knew. I just didn't recall when you asked me.
We had our forensic expert check the gun. He tells us a second shot was attempted, but it didn't fire. You got some pretty old ammunition there, I guess.
Okay.
Did your mother ask you at any time to help her commit suicide?
No.
Did your father ever ask you to help him end your mother's life?
No.
Did you rearrange anything in your mother's room after you found her dead?
No.
Well, somebody did. It was either you, your sister, or your father.
I think you're mistaken.
If we go over to your place with a search warrant or to your sister's house, are we going to find your mother's jewelry?
No.
We're going to have to ask your father all these same questions now. Everything that we've asked you. You know that, don't you?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Do you know how many cougar attacks have been recorded in British Columbia in the past 10 years?
Oh, not that many. Only 6 have been recorded in the last 10 years.
And were any of those attacks fatal?
Yes, 2 of them.
What do we usually find is the nature of most cougar attacks?
Well, we know that cougars attack mostly from behind, that they use not only their claws but their teeth. So you usually see a variety of wounds. Bite marks, scratches, claw marks, lacerations, lateral tearing, also crushing of the bone and soft tissue from the bite.
None of which you recognize in the body of Stacy Miller.
Correct. Cougars also sometimes drag their victims, and there was no evidence of that.
What do we usually find is the fatal wound in most cougar attacks?
Usually it's from the jaw crushing either the vertebral column or the skull of the victim.
Again, something you did not find in the body of Stacy Miller. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, thank you very much for calling.
Well, yeah. I just wanted to set it all straight.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
We talked about what to do for, well, 6 months or so, and then Abby and I decided this was the quickest, best way to do it.
Okay. And how is that going to work?
Well, we set the day, and we had this little ceremony where we reviewed our marriage vows, and you know how they go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, we did that, and I got out the gun, and I got out the gun and I shot her. I tried to turn it on myself, and it jammed.
All right. All right. Okay, so what happened then? You picked up the phone and you called your children. Is that what you did?
Yes.
So they came on over here, they cleaned things up, and then what, they came up with the robbery idea? Is that it?
That's right.
That was a very hard thing to do.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, sir, it was.
Very hard thing.
Did the judge render a verdict?
Yeah, I did. We lost.
Jeez. What?
Judge says there was reasonable doubt.
For Christ's sake.
Well, Morris Stedman is here to see you,
Oh, yeah? Okay, send him in.
and your dinner date is waiting.
Oh, great. Hi. I'll be 1 minute, okay? You look nice. Okay. Morris can come in now. Hey, Morris.
How you doing, Mr. Vinci?
Well, not bad. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. I returned the autopsy files.
Oh, thanks. Did you go see that grief counselor like you promised?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Thanks for that. Okay. And I was also looking over the pictures of the fire and comparing those to the autopsy findings. It seems to me that the cuts on Janie's wrists are inconsistent with her breaking the window in the bedroom. They look more like defensive wounds, as if she was fighting off an attacker.
Defensive wounds. Have you been talking to somebody about defensive wounds?
I did find a pathologist in Seattle who responded to my emails, and he asked some questions too.
Oh.
So I thought I'd tell you, just in case he called.
In case he calls me. Would it make you happy if you could talk to the actual pathologist who did the autopsy in Jane's case?
Yes, I would.
I don't think there'll be a problem. I think she'll be over in her office. I'll take you over there right now. You got time? So, just give me 1 second. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm ready to go in like a few minutes.
Okay.
Right. You want to wait my office?
Sure.
Better for you. How's everything else?
Well, I've been working a lot more.
That's good.
My brother came out to spend some time.
Well, there you go.
I want to thank you for taking the time.
Well, it's hard losing someone.
Yes. Yes, it is.